Hello, and welcome to What's Next Wall Street. I am George Alfredas.
And I'm Dave Mathews.
And this is a show about winning trades, investing, lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, we figure it's better to invest in the stocks of a company instead of buying that product from the company.
Who said that?
Well, that's what
we figured that?
We figured that out. Like you and I and the teleprompter guy.
Oh, okay. All right. So you just got back from where?
I was at Miami for Art Basel. Now, I only go to this show like every 5 years, but Georgia, it's so inspirational for me because
Really?
Deep inside, I'm really an artist.
Yeah, you're really an artist. Deep inside on the beach. I see you got a little sun wave
Just
here.
barely. I was mostly at NFT, looking at art, and oh my God, the stuff you're going to see in this show is going to blow your mind like it did mine.
Okay, I'm super excited to check that out. So here's the thing. You can listen to this show on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please do that.
And my favorite is the YouTubes, because with YouTube, you can watch all the cool stuff that we're talking about today.
Yes, and make sure you subscribe, give us the likes and the thumbs up and all the fun stuff. And you can also hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street. But we always answer questions. Like, you know what I do, Dave? I don't really answer questions. I shouldn't lie. What I do is when I see a question somebody writes, I'm like, let me see what Greg has to say about this.
Oh, yeah. We've got Greg Krause, the lead instructor from OptionsPlayers.com here in the house. Krause in the house. How's it going, man?
Oh, going good. How y'all doing?
What's going on? I like that. Krause in the house. We should put that on t-shirts. Is that cheesy?
Just patent it real quick.
Okay, all right.
There you go. Trademark. We're going to do some trademarks.
Yes. Let's start out with a stock minute.
Well, you no doubt heard about the giant square, which is now called Jenny from the Block. Just Block.
Wait,
Sorry.
what?
I was getting a little urban on you. So co-founder and CEO Jack Dorsey said the new name reflects the company's focus on technologies such as blockchain and expands beyond its original credit card reader, which was so cool. It used the mic input to read magnetic stripe. It was the nerd-tastic. Anyway, Dorsey said the company will continue to build tools to help increase and access the economy. And they've got Cash App and they've got Tidal now.
Yeah.
Did you see this tweet, Georgia?
Yeah, where he was talking about like block or square or something.
Yeah, and then my favorite one was the I love Twitter right before he resigned. So.
I know, but listen, what's Twitter going to look like without him? I don't know. I felt like he was Twitter, even though I know he was gone before and then came back. I just feel like he's so Twitter, but we'll see. So of course, blockchain is where it's at. Apparently. One of the country's largest banks, Citigroup, plans to hire 100 people to help grow its digital asset team. Emily Turner, who is the head of Citigroup Business Development, says her digital team is going to engage with key internal and external stakeholders, including clients, startups, and regulators. Turner, like most of the rest of the world, sees big potential in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Now, some of the other big boys like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and US Bank are also in the digital asset game. Goldman Sachs buys and sells Bitcoin futures, and despite its trepidation about Bitcoin early on, JP Morgan has come all the way around.
Yeah, he goes, I will never do Bitcoin.
Right?
Psych.
Okay. Now its clients can trade Bitcoin derivatives. So US Bank is crypto friendly as well. It's starting to look like every bank, big and small, is going to have to get into it or get left behind because clients are demanding it.
That's right. And you don't want to fall into cancel culture.
All right.
But what about cancel crypto? Now, India is the latest country to ban cryptocurrency. Violators won't walk away with a slap on the hand either. They'll be jailed without bail.
What?
Yeah, meanwhile, Bitmart wouldn't mind that same treatment for hackers who made off with nearly $200 million in assets.
Wow.
Now, Bitmart did confirm the hack, but they scaled the loss down to just $150 million.
Oh, only $150 million.
However, security firm and data analytics firm PeckShield estimates that the number's more like $196 million. Now, the hackers reportedly took a mix of over 20 different tokens, including Binance Coin, SafeMoon, and Shiba Inu. God, a lot of these fake coins here. Now, Bitmart reports that methods used for the breach remain unclear, but PeckShield said what happened afterward was a straightforward transfer out, swap, and wash.
Wow, that sounds like a movie, right? Computer hacks happen all the time. So who hasn't gotten that email that says, your information may have been compromised? And you're like, oh my gosh, what? That was just my ex. Anyway, you may not even know the answer to this, Greg, but I got to ask you, since you're here, I might as well use you, right? So how can banking institutions keep digital assets safe? And do hacks like this make investors and institutions weary of being Bitcoin friendly?
Well, I think the the potential of being hacked, and that issue's already priced into what the investors are. That risk is already there. Now, what most people think decentralized, it wouldn't be much risk, right? You have it in cold storage and you're peer to peer. It's when you use these centralized things like Coinbase, where they're actually getting your stuff from Coinbase, and that's it. So if you have it in cold storage, it's probably a little bit safer. But I'm not an expert at all in that. So basically, I would defer to someone that's more tech savvy in the crypto
If
world.
only we had someone more.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Him. That's exactly right.
So,
yeah.
so what Greg means by cold storage is something that's not hot and online. So if you have a thumb drive, or some people, like in the old school days of Bitcoin, they would write out this massive phrase of letters and words, which would be like a key to restore a wallet. And they'd put that wallet onto a crypto wallet, which is, you can look on Amazon, there are a handful of these things out here. So I don't want to recommend one of them because I don't have any of them, because how many times do thumb drives get corrupted because you don't hit the eject button to safely remove it from your computer?
That's why I don't use them, because I screw up every one of them. I'm like, wow, the pictures. So yeah.
Yeah, if you lose your photos and feel bad about it, can you imagine losing 10, 20, 100 grand, whatever,
Oh my
on a
gosh.
crypto wallet? But yeah, this is, cold storage. It's much, much safer, but you can't sell it as fast. Like if you've got these big swings in crypto, like what we've seen, you might want to sell early. So the hot storage does sound like a good idea for that. But what you can do, if you have a Coinbase or Abra like I use, put your stuff behind a second factor of authentication. And there's two ways to do this. One of them is through an SMS message to your phone, and those can be hacked. There's stories about people that have gotten their phone numbers social engineered out from under them, and all their accounts hacked because of that. But you can use an app like Google that they have one called Authenticator. And Authenticator generates a random code that you can use. And frankly, I'd put Authenticator under all your stuff. Do it for your Instagram, do it for your Gmail. Yeah, because think about it. More and more of your life is in this digital tie, right? Even my latest credit cards, they're not sending paper statements to me anymore. So I used to be able to look at the paper statement and see if there's any odd transactions, like that club I shouldn't have gone to. But if you turn your life into a full digital world and someone takes over your SMS,
You're done.
or they take over your email, forget about it, right? So that Authenticator app from Google is one to look at.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But do you want
Dave.
some more pro tips?
Sure.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Options Players wants to remind you that volatility is the price of admission. And that means stocks, not the club I was just talking about. So this is especially true to options traders, as volatility is primarily value due to volatility. It's a lot of V's.
I know, like what?
So that said, you must understand that losses come with the territory in trading and be mentally prepared. Quitting is the result for some who don't understand this and proceed without plans or rules. If you begin your trading with a sound foundation, then you can build soundly from there. Now, I hope this reminder helps. Today's pro tip is brought to you by OptionsPlayers.com.
Okay, Dave, this is the part of the show where we get to hear from you.
Is this your favorite part of the show?
It's my favorite because people get to email us, and you can always hit us up on social media as well. I love that. What's Next Wall Street? Or you can email us at www.optionsplayers.com. So this first email comes from Marco from Boca Raton. Oh, did you see him down when you were in Florida? Okay.
Almost. It was pretty close.
So there are rumors that DiDi and Baba are delisting. Now,
Is that a little bit of Chinese pressure,
Yes,
maybe?
maybe.
Like a little twist of the arm behind the back?
Maybe. So what does it all mean if I own shares, options when they do officially delist? So number one, when a company is delisted, you still own that stock. You're not stripped of it. It just means it's not worth the paper it's printed on, so to say, because, it's majorly devalued now. Am I right, Greg?
Yes. Basically, you could purchase it. Let's just say let's think outside of stocks.
Stupid?
Okay, not stupid. Let's just say you're buying, let's talk to her. You're buying a...
Wait, you said stupid and he says, let's talk to her.
That's not what I meant. Okay, look, you're going to get what I'm talking about.
Okay.
We're going to buy us a little nice Louis purse.
Oh, wait.
Got it?
You know what?
So we're going to the real store.
Okay.
How much does that, say, never full bag cost there?
$2,000.
All right. Now, let's go over to Nordstrom Rack.
They're not going to have it there.
Okay, let's just say they have it.
All right, I was going to say, they're not going to
How
have
much does it cost there?
$1,200 maybe?
Okay. The difference is the NASDAQ was the actual Louis store. That's where you purchase it. And then the Nordstrom Rack was that place nobody really wants to go, which is over the counter.
Oh, I love Nordstrom Rack.
Okay.
What about-
I know
I get what
you
you're
do,
saying. I
but
get
you
what you're
I'm
saying. I get what you're saying.
It's a little cheaper.
What
Yeah.
about where I go, which is Swap Meet Louis?
Okay, so the real
Sir
thing
Mix-a-Lot
is
and I are tight.
the major listings, you know, your NASDAQ, all those, that's where the money's at, right? It's out there. You have the S&P 500, and you have all these. It's just where all the money goes into. When you go to over the counter, it's a little bit harder for the average investor, especially the retail investor, to get into those. Some places like Robinhood and stuff used to limit that. Now they allow some of that over the trading, but it's just harder to get to it, and it's not in your face. It's not popping up on the ticker. It's not, it's just not there. So in that case, most likely it's going to be devalued. So when you get delisted, when the threat comes, you see companies go from hundreds of dollars and it just slowly goes. And then finally they can't hold whatever that is. It has to be worth so much or have a value over this amount. And it has to hold it for a certain amount of days. And if it loses it, it'll get delisted from like the NASDAQ.
So
And then it
SoftBank
just loses all of it.
was an OTC, right? And SoftBank had two stocks. They had a Canadian version and the US version, right?
Okay.
And SoftBank was flying high. They put money into WeWork back when it was a thing, and SoftBank owned most of Sprint before T-Mobile bought them out. And then you can watch kind of SoftBank kind of drizzle out. Is that what's happening there as well? Like I'm trying to use an analogy of what we've seen in the markets in the last year with what's happening with DiDi.
Well, with, say, DiDi in the last year, I don't know. So I couldn't really compare that to very much. But if you go back to, what was it? A big one a lot of people really got hurt by delisting. That you would know. All right, so Solar City, the old solar company, it was worth, I forgot the actual company, it was worth hundreds of dollars per share, and it just slowly went down and went down.
And that's because they were working with a lot of the government subsidies for
Yeah,
solar
and they kept
panel. And that was Elon's
borrowing this
brother.
money and over and over and over.
Right, and Elon gave him the biggest Hail Mary ever, if Hail Mary, by Elon swallowing Solar City into Tesla. And the fact that he turned it into oh, we're going to build solar panels and power walls. And he really did a nice job after the fact.
Yeah.
He did not warn the street about what he was going to do. I think hindsight's 20/20 with all of Elon's decisions. But he said oh no, the power walls are going to be a part of Tesla's plan.
If Elon told me what he was about to do, I would just be like, here's my money.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't fail.
course.
However you feel about the guy,
Right.
Look at how many sectors he's broke into. I mean, either you think he's a mad genius or he has the best people working for him.
Both.
Nobody has gotten to the automotive space. Who's got into that?
Right.
The banking industry, I mean, come on. I can't name of anybody that's got
X.com,
in.
which
Yeah.
became, PayPal bought him up for that. So
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I'd get into it. But the delisting of DiDi and stuff, that's a little bit on the China side for what they say the security, right? So from what I get out of it, it's Chinese require a certain amount of security so people can't hack into it and things like that. I don't think Baba's going to have an issue with that. They're state of the art. I mean, in that sense. So I think with the Baba one, Alibaba, I think that's more of a media U.S. versus China play. I don't think that's really going to be an issue. I don't think China's going to force the U.S. investors. That's kind of what you hear online is China doesn't want U.S. money. Yes, they do. What are you talking about? Of course they want your money because
it's a global
Who
economy.
doesn't want? Who doesn't want?
it's not hurting there to put your money into that company. So I don't see that. And then first off, if you don't understand that China owns half of everything we have, and then we own a large portion of everything we have, neither one of us could just say quit or,
I just can't
it's
quit
basically
you.
done. No, you can go look at y'all are actors, so you don't
Brokeback
have I know-
NASDAQ?
Yes.
Is this our new that's our new movie? Brokeback NASDAQ.
Yeah, cancel
can't
that one.
quit you.
But y'all might want some jobs in the future working for one of these networks, so you don't have to respond to this. But if you don't think most of the major networks have a major in the United States, or a lot of the investors in that are from Chinese corporations,
Of course.
right? So why that media is that way, I don't really know, but I just think it's just fear. I don't
Yeah.
think Baba's going to be delisted. I think
The
it's
opinions
just like a
expressed here
threat.
about the media are his and his alone.
Yeah, mine and mine alone. And when I say media, I don't mean
Yeah,
fake
yeah,
news
yeah.
media.
No,
I mean
yes.
what you see, online and things.
Yeah,
It's just the fear. Fear is what grabs people's attention, right? That, it's not, oh, we're doing great. That doesn't sell. So you're not going to see
It's not
that.
clickbait.
Yeah, so you're not going to see that. And I think that's where we're getting all this delisting. Now, DiDi is probably going to get delisted, but I think it's going to be a standalone one. Baba, I don't think it will be, but once again, I'm a finance guy. I'm not a regulatory guy, but it's
So
just...
for the investors in Baba, DiDi, whatever, what do we do? Do we sell while we can? Do we, you don't want to ride to the bottom, because I don't think if governments are involved, there's not going to be a dead
DiDi's
cat
already
bounce.
dropped, right? So I'll talk about DiDi in a second. Baba, I think it's probably priced fairly well, depending on when you compare it to other things. Now, just purchasing something, I don't want to say, hey, it's great, because it can go down with the whole market. Do I think Baba will outperform the market? I do. That's it. That doesn't mean it's going up, but I think it will outperform the overall market. Yeah. Now, DiDi, on the other hand, that's a whole nother story. Is there money to be made there? Yes. I've made plenty of money as stocks drop down and got into and when they get into the penny stock market area, it's even more fun, because now I'm up against a bunch of retail investors. All right. Hate to say this. So you're sitting in your mom's garage and you're like, oh, it's $1. It jumped 30 cents in the morning. Okay. Guess who made it jump 30 cents? A market maker did. Now you bought it. And then we're going to make it jump another 30 cents, and you're going to buy more. And then we're going to sell it all to you, and then it's going to dump.
It's going to go down, yeah.
And then we're going to repeat it again tomorrow, over and over and over. So a lot of these stocks that get delisted, you'll see them in that penny market area. I know it's not there yet. It's still sitting at like $7, $8, $6, DiDi. But even if it gets lower and it hasn't been delisted, just be wary that when you see it pumping up in that pre-market or right away and it's shooting, look, it's going down at that point. Just know that, hey, I got mine, get out real quick. Don't think it's going to go back to $20.
Not to where it was.
Not.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm worried about SoftBank. It's not going to go back to the heady days it was.
Yeah.
Hey, wasn't it weird that he asked the teleprompter guy what it was stock was
I
trading
know.
at?
The teleprompter guy can't even run the teleprompter. Stop talking it.
It's so weird.
Just stop talking.
Anyway, let's go to the next question. Thank you for that, Greg. Jimmy from Mobile, Alabama asks, it was announced that the U.S. is placing a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. What does this all mean for the markets? Will we see a major effect from this? Greg, Olympics, cold, pandemic, what's going on?
I don't get how the Olympics really play a major deal in the market. Now, I guess in a sense of fear of U.S.-Chinese tension, maybe. But I think we go back to that fear. Do I think Chinese plays fair in the market and everything? Absolutely not. Do I think the United States plays fair in a global market? Absolutely not. Right? So if you want to look at, there's a good thing about China back in the day, especially after like the 2008 and regulatory changes. You have no understanding how many Chinese companies actually sold stuff or sold shares to the United States with major politicians and things saying, hey, come buy this share. It's great. They were at the parties. And I'm not going to dime anybody out because I don't want to sound like I'm on one side, because all the people that I can think of are on one side. In one party. So I don't want to name that party.
Tell us later.
Because I don't want to hurt the left side's feelings.
Oh, watch out now.
But there's a good one. Just get on Netflix, look it up, or Google. It's like about a little, it's about like China and everything, and it's about shorting. And it talks about how these companies came over, and there's different regulatory guidelines that we have. So, we have to file, hey, we made this, we have this. Well, they weren't doing it, and then we were putting money into it, and then they shafted. And you're talking probably hundreds of billions of dollars that United States investors lost this way. But nobody really knows about it. But there's good documentaries on it you can go watch, because I know most people aren't going to understand research, so go watch some real TV. All right. But that's one of my favorite. I got to do that with a bunch of my students, and that we make them do in college and write stories about stuff. So that was one of them. It's one of my favorite. And then on the Olympics, how does it affect us?
It's just, like you said, government tensions between the two.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because you always have Coke or a big sponsor or something like that. But does that really, how much money does that bring to them today when, normal TV advertising, all you TV stations out there, it's on the decline. Mm-hmm. Original content through social media is where most marketing dollars are going to. Mm-hmm. Right. So is the Olympics really affecting these companies? I don't think so. So now for that local economy, that say, wherever it was going to be in China, I don't know the city where it was going to be. That probably does affect in Beijing. It's definitely going to affect that because they've been planning that for like 8 years, right? Even if we don't go, the United States don't go, of course, other people won't go. So maybe China will retaliate with, I don't know, whatever they retaliate with.
Yeah, the production lines have been slowed down because of people, having factories locked down. The supply chain's jacked up because of truck drivers.
It's a
what else can they do?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, come on,
so
bring it on.
I don't think it's more of a market finance. It's more of a political thing. And if I knew what politicians were going to do today, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be a billionaire.
If we knew
Sorry,
on both
because
sides,
Hold
yeah,
on,
they
hold on.
know so much.
Hold on, Greg's not a billionaire?
I'm a billionaire. I changed it. So I went from a million to a billion. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I have no idea what they're going to do or what they're thinking in their head. I mean,
But they do when they buy the stock.
yeah, I will
ahead.
leave politicians alone. I don't need any more.
Maybe we should become politicians.
Oh,
and then
great.
we really
Yeah.
get rich.
All right, Georgia. Hey, everybody watching, if you have a question, maybe we can answer it, maybe we can't, but we'll definitely find someone else who can. So hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street or email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com. All right, well, the first weekend of December, artists from around the world head to Miami's South Beach Convention Center and the Wynwood Arts District for the biggest art show in the USA. But this year, it was even larger thanks to the nerds that are into blockchains and NFT that had their own simultaneous conferences. It's kind of like when South by Southwest began their interactive series in the mid-90s, which is now a massive part of that conference.
Sure.
So now, Georgie, we've minted our own digital ownership of NFTs or non-fungible tokens here on the show. We even have our own CryptoPunk avatars on our Twitter. And those assets, not ours, but other ones, they've become a real movement in the collecting world to the digerati. With $27 billion spent in the last year. How's that number even
That's insane. And
sense?
digerati, what?
Yeah, it's not my term. So even 10.7 billion of that was spent in the last quarter alone. Now this is a growth of 800% from next to nothing. It was like $10 million last year. So think about it, Georgia. If you're a tech worker, you don't need to go to the office. In fact, Facebook and Google have now said that plans to return to the office have been pushed back to January due to the Omicron variant of the virus. I don't want to keep learning Greek words too.
I
This is
know.
so weird. Which is beginning. It's now third, or in some countries, maybe a fourth wave, crushing our dreams and our holiday hugs. Like, look how far we have to stand apart from each other. That's even with me testing negative. So since these developers can work from a beach in Mexico or, wherever, and don't have an apartment, they don't need to hang the traditional Art Basel art on the wall. So digital artwork, or NFTs, were the rage with booth after booth of them at Basel. And that's because of the portability of these digital pieces.
Oh my gosh.
They can be displayed on your iPhone or your computer monitor. I've even got a friend who's building an NFT wallet monitor for them, so the wallet will be the monitor itself. So we'll cover that in a future show.
Okay.
But Basel for me is all about the sculptures as well as the art. And this year it was the car, specifically Porsche, my favorite brand to collect.
My favorite car too.
Oh, true. Yeah, look at that. Oh
Porsche.
yeah, Porsches
Okay,
everywhere.
you're cute.
Yeah. But first, check out what Lexus did with this wireframe vehicle floating in a design gallery. But what blew me away was this so-called eroded G-Body 911 from Daniel Ashram.
Wow.
It sold for a cool $550,000.
Unbelievable.
It's built on a real 1975 Porsche chassis, which has Daniel's signature monochromatic style of polymers and crystals added within. It was the perfect sight for see to me.
Yeah.
And even the interior looked like Superman's crystal cavern. But,
cool.
with my cars, I'd rather drive my art. But on that note, a second early Porsche Super Carrera from Queen's Art Collective, Emilion Diore, they bought their 1978 model in olive grün, which is green in German.
Yeah.
Now, the custom work that they did on this, it has a flawless interior with a white perforated leather and Persian rugs as floor mats.
Persian rugs. I could never let my kid in there. There'd be suckers everywhere.
And even on the door pockets. I personally went with the Classics 1970 plaid on mine, but the creative director at the brand chose this as his retro styling. The booth was exquisite as well, with a whole south of the border look and boxes of oranges and lemons. Why is this, Georgia?
You tell me why. I don't know.
Well, yellow and orange make
Red?
Green. Come on. Where's your
Yellow
mind?
and orange make green. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Green. So my favorite aspect of the booth were all the old Porsche reprinted magazine advertisements to showcase the creative that the brand had back in the early decades of the iconic automobile. Now, that one's not for sale, but it is their second collaboration with the Porsche brand. They built out a 1964 Porsche Carrera C4 a couple years ago in white with a flawless tan suede interior. But as we end this segment, let's take a look at these retro motorcycles with steampunk elements, like a rotary phone dial taillight and custom aluminum work from repurposed kitchen items.
What in the world?
Unbelievable. And finally, this Ducati was sparkling in glitter Italian flag colors.
That's cool. Now that's cool.
Now, these are truly works of mechanical and reimagined art.
I could just look at the whole Porsche thing like all day long. Man, that's
It
cool.
was nice.
That's cool. That's fun. Thanks for the invite. Moving on. So a recent Gallup poll finds that inflation is causing financial hardship for 45% of the U.S., right? We needed a Gallup poll for this. I should be the person that makes polls.
Gas is up,
Yeah,
vegetables are up.
everything. So the head of the Federal Reserve says inflation isn't ending anytime soon. During a recent Senate hearing, Fed Chair Jerome Powell added, it's probably time to stop referring to inflation as transitory, okay? Powell added that inflation is expected to start turning around sometime next year. By the way, inflation hit a 30-year record a couple of months ago, with consumer prices rising over 6%. Meanwhile, some consumers want to spend, but they can't get their hands on the products. This is like a broken record. We just keep hearing it. However, the Federal Trade Commission is investigating what's causing ongoing supply chain disruptions that are still causing hardships for consumers. Now, the agency ordered companies like Walmart, Amazon, Kroger, Procter & Gamble, other companies to turn over information to help study the causes of empty shelves and high prices.
Let me guess. Was it because of the factories being shut because of COVID, or the Evergrande being stuck in the canal?
There's so much. There's so much.
What? No truck drivers?
Yeah. So on
Stack it all
one
up.
hand, we got inflation up the wazoo, making it hard for consumers to buy the stuff that they really need. And on the other hand, we got consumers clamoring to purchase items that they really want but can't get their hands on. Greg, how does this all affect the stock market, and what does it mean for investors? Let me tell y'all something.
Greg just
Greg
left.
Was over here, Greg was over here like, I can tell you got a problem with
it's a long
this.
question. All right.
Greg just
so
walked
first,
out of the studio.
I know, right? He's
First.
over huffing and puffing.
What does inflation have to do with the market? Well, it has a lot to do with the market. Now, do I trust anything any Fed member says? Absolutely not. And the reason is, if we go back the last 2 years, what have they said about inflation? Don't worry about inflation. It's not important. Don't worry about the national debt. It's not important. Every last one has their different method depending on which way they, vote, I guess you could say. But it just keeps getting worse. And now they're talking about, now there is going to be inflation, but they haven't even really started about talking about tapering and what that'll do to the market. With the market, though, I will say, if you go back and you look at the history, in like, say, you go back to like the 1960s and 70s when we had a lot of programs back then. You had the Apollo program, which was a lot of money, which did great things for us. But then you also had all these social things that came out during that, for all the civil rights and everything else, and other great legislation, all that. So there's a lot more spending, and then inflation started to creep in. After
I saw that. I was actually
Right.
seeing Reagan when Reagan was president, and even Carter. Inflation was way up.
So
really started in the
it
80s.
kind of started in a little bit after 1965. You
Yeah.
started seeing it creep up after we started spending more money, of
Yeah.
course, and we didn't, we printed more money. Let's just say that. And then it continued to go up and up and up and up. And then it got, to all-time highs. And then that's kind of where we're at now, is what are we going to do about that? I don't really know, because that's up to the politicians, and I stopped guessing what they're going to choose to do. They say that the Fed is not supposed to be controlled by politicians, but I mean,
Of course.
if you have a brain cell, you know that
Yes.
whoever appoints to it somehow magically goes along with exactly what that administration says, like 99% of the time. So it's political.
I feel like Greg might live in a bunker. Do you
I
have a
don't
bunker
live
with a
in a-
whole bunch of food? Do you trust
I don't
anybody?
I don't live in a bunker. I'm just
I
a
think
real. I'm just
I
a
saw
realist.
his bed. His bed is made of gold ingots.
No, I'm just a realist, okay? But on the inflation in the stock market is the one place that has outperformed other investments during inflation. And you think, why? right? Well, you're purchasing. Most people think, hey, I buy a house. With inflation, that house becomes worth more. And I'm not saying that's
You're
not
stuck with it though. You can't liquidate it quickly.
Yeah, I'm not saying that house purchase might not be a good idea. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not going to talk about that one. But the stock market all throughout history has outperformed inflation. So when you look at this over a period of 10 years, even when inflation's at 7 or 8%, the stock market during that time is actually outperforming that inflation. Now, are you still making the same gains? Maybe not, but you're making money compared to inflation. You're not
So are you
losing
saying
money.
Inflation is good for the stock market?
Yes and no. Okay. All right. I'm saying don't fear inflation in the market. You will see dips in fear. Everybody's like, oh, inflation's going to go and we're going to fear it. But in the long run, if you have inflation, where are you going to put your money? You going to leave cash? Cash ain't good in inflation. Are you going to go buy gold or something? Maybe, but you're not going to put all your money in gold, or it's a limited resource. So really quickly it will become way too valuable, and then you're just going to lose money when they sell it, right? So it's just not sustainable. Now, crypto is a new entry into inflation, right? Because we really haven't had inflation, like you said, until the 70s, 80s, large inflation levels. So what does this new asset, cryptocurrency, bring in? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. You have all these people that say, oh, it's going to bring so much because it's only limited. Like, come on, man. There's a new crypto every 5 seconds. It's not unlimited. Now, there's limited Bitcoin. There's limited this, but you just keep adding more, and that kind of, I guess, saturates it. So there's more money for this, more money for that. So you're taking money away from Bitcoin, putting it in these. So there's an issue there. But I want to find out. I'm interested at, as the philosopher in me, so want to know how people actually go towards this crypto during an inflation. But like I said, stocks has normally been a safe haven during inflations more than what people realize. Just understand that it may dip during it, and it has its ups and downs.
So Greg's saying, keep buying stocks. Don't store diesel or gasoline because that's pretty volatile in more than one way. Hey, we want to thank lead instructor at Options Players, Greg Krause, for being with us here today.
Yes, lots of questions answered. Now remember, if you got questions, we can try to help you answer it, or we're going to just bug Greg to be here and answer it for you. We'd love to hear from you anyway. Email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com. Do you know somebody emailed me and asked me where I got my jacket? I was like, for real?
What?
You like it?
No one wants to know where I got mine. But my Porsche t-shirt came from a Porsche show.
I do love that. I can't believe you didn't give me that. That's so rude.
All right.
How could you do that?
I'll have to do this.
How
And
could you not do
you can,
this?
of course, watch
What?
episodes of What's
So
Next Wall Street
rude.
on the Options
Ignore
Players
me if you
YouTube
like.
page, or listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Rude.
And share one episode with a friend. Get them
Yes.
hooked on this, because
Yes.
I am Dave Mathews.
And I'm George Alfredas. See you next time on What's Next Wall Street. Woo-hoo. That was rude.